Hi there, Karen Flaherty from Living by Human Design. Hope you're doing well today. We're going to be talking about the gate 20, which is called the gate of contemplation for today's human design weather. So we've got the sun in gate 20. It started on May 21st and it goes until May 27th, just right after midnight. And the earth will be in the gate 34, which is called multitasking. So we've got the connection between the 20 coming off the throat on the left side and coming down into the 34, which is coming off the sacral. So these two gates form this continuous channel, and this channel happens to be the one that is the archetypical channel for manifesting generators. So everybody this week is going to feel like a manifesting generator, and it will, as I said, continue until the 27th, which I think is Friday. That will give everybody sacral energy and throat energy, in addition to what we already had in the ajna to the throat, which is the 2343. And then this is the 3420, which is called the channel of charisma. And then over here, we've got the, let's see, Wednesday, it'll change a little bit. We're going to add the gate 3 in Venus, and that will create a connection between the 3 and the 60, which will highlight the root center and define the root center. And so the 3 is in Venus, will be in Venus, and the 60 is in Pluto, and that'll stay in for about a week. So, so by the end of the week, we've got the ajna, throat, sacral, and root all defined. So 2 motors and the throat, and it's going to give everybody quite a bit of energy. That's the kind of week this is. So this gate 20 is also called the gate of metamorphosis or contemplation in the now. It's all about speaking. Obviously, it comes right off the throat, right? But it's about speaking in the moment. It's not about, while it's called contemplation, it doesn't really have anything to do with thinking. It's almost a misnomer in that regard, but it's really about recognition and awareness in the now, which transforms understanding into right action. And so basically, it's a very in the moment, what's going on, what's present, what's new, what do you want to react to, how do you want to talk about it. It can change the tone of a meeting or a get together, or a party or something like that, by somebody with the 20 just blurting something out and saying something in the moment that's usually very appropriate, sometimes surprising, but usually very appropriate. In the incarnation crosses this week are the cross of the sleeping phoenix, the cross of now, and the cross of duality. And then it's connected to the gate 34, which is called multitasking or power. And it's the power of the great, or power, just power in the original I Ching. It is part of the individual circuit. In fact, this entire channel is part of the individual circuit. And power is only great when its display of use serves the common good. And so this is, while this multitasking is powerful, it is usually for the common good. It's usually we're in action for our children, for our families, for our community, for our workplace, for, we're busy doing stuff. While it is part of the individual circuit, it's usually for others. It's usually a lot for others. It also is called the gate of perfectionism, and it's where perfectionism in a lot of people comes from, myself included. And so in the gene keys here, force is the shadow, strength is the gift, and majesty is the CD. So for the gene key 20, I love this flower here, the 20th gift, Richard says in this graphic, the 20th gift can only be cultivated through trust, patience, and surrender, none of which are techniques. And so this is about speaking in the moment and speaking with trust, with patience, with surrender that you've acquired, right? So hopefully you've gotten to that point, but this is the 20th gift. It's when you can be, speak in the moment with trust and patience and surrender, and not with aggression, not with pushing, not with making, inappropriate statements. So the shadow in the gene key 20 is superficiality. The repressive side of that is being absent, almost like either absent-minded or absent in your eyes, just kind of a blank stare. And then the reactive side is hectic. It's much more, because don't forget, if you have the 20, you're usually going to have the 34 as well. So it's a hectic kind of multitasking, right? It's the people who run in circles and make the rest of us look like we're standing still, but are they really getting anything done? And are they getting done what they really want to? The gift here is self-assurance, and that's where that trust and patience and surrender come in. And then CD is the presence. Richard actually talks about it as the presence, because it's really having this presence of mind, of speech, of body, really, of physicality, that allows you to speak in the moment and say what's really what will help everyone. So he also says the mind prevents us from feeling one with life. Because it's almost like the 20 is about the physical speaking, and the mind usually takes us in other directions, right? So when we're really just, and don't forget, it's connected to the sacral, or at least the 20 and the 34 are connected to the sacral. So when you're speaking truly from your sacral, and it's a bodily encapsulation of what you want to say. And so you tend to say things that are in the moment, that are appropriate, that are needed, that it helps. It's the kind of energy where you can kind of feel the room, and you can feel what's going on. And so that presence is important for other people, because they play off of that. They feed off of that, right? They need that nudge sometimes from people with the 20 to be able to move on to the next goal, the next project, the next whatever, and move the conversation along. People with the 20 are great conversationalists usually, and they can, if they've moved into maturity with the 20. Of course, as children, they might have been blurting things out or saying inappropriate things, but as you mature, the 20 can be quite a gift. He also says your self-assurance is directly equivalent to your ability to escape being a victim of your mind. So when you're not in the mind and not a victim of the mind, you'll have this self-assurance. The other thing he says is that as your frequency raises, your energetic frequency, your being okay in the trust and the patience and the surrender, that allows you to then be somebody who's with the higher frequency, just speaking purely from the 20, and with basically no interference from your mind. So we've got a number of different people, lots of people actually this week, who were born in this week. It's in the sun, in astrology, it's the start of Gemini, the Gemini timing. And so there are just, it's June, there's a lot of babies being born, I guess. And so all of them, you can imagine, all of them have the 20 and the 34, which makes every single person here a manifesting generator. And they've done a lot, and they've accomplished a lot, and there's a lot of them who have accomplished all this. So it's, everybody from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who created the Sherlock Holmes series, Bob Dylan, the tennis player Novak Djokovic, Miles Davis, who we'll be talking about in a moment, Richard Wagner, Stevie Nicks, John Wayne, Kevorkian, Harvey Milk, Sir Laurence Olivier, Helena Bonham Carter. But then also I even added some others here. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Naomi Campbell, T. Boone Pickens. I mean, just a lot of people. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Miles Davis. I am not a authority on Miles Davis by any means, but I did want to show his chart because I always loved his music and thought it would be interesting to look at. So he was born Miles Dewey Davis III to a very affluent Black family in Alton, Illinois on May 26, 1926. His father was a dentist. His mother was a musician and music teacher who played the piano. And his type is the manifesting generator, emotional, with a 5-1 profile. So he's a left angle cross of duality. And as you can see, he's got that 20 20 coming off the throat, the 20 to the 34 in the conscious, on the conscious side here, 20 and 34 up in his incarnation cross. On the other side, he's got the 3740, which is very interesting because this is this entire channel here. Now, this is unconscious, or less conscious, but he's got the will. It creates the will center and the emotional solar plexus defined for him. So contracts and agreements are very important to him. And then with the 2034, of course, he can speak in the moment, and he's got the multitasking and power that goes with the 34. As you probably know, he's a jazz musician, band leader, composer, father of cool jazz, the winner of 8 different Grammy Awards, and I think 35 nominations, quite a bit. His list of albums, otherwise known as a discography, is quite lengthy as well, as you would expect for a manifesting generator. I mean, I saw a list that included 57 different albums, and those were his major works. So while he was prolific and created so much work, and worked with some of the most famous, he worked with Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. He was originally part of the Charlie Parker orchestra, or band, I guess, which then Dizzy Gillespie left, and Miles stayed on with Charlie Parker, but then created his own band later on. So he became the band leader. Sometimes there were 9, sometimes there were 5, but he always mixed it up and created this new genre, basically, of jazz that people called cool jazz. And his first one of the first albums, or one of the first albums, was called The Birth of Cool, or Birth of the Cool, actually. And then one of the most famous albums ever created in jazz music was Kind of Blue, which came out in the late 50s, I believe. And so he was prolific. He did a lot. And he attended the Juilliard School right after high school. His parents did want him to finish high school, so he did that. And so he finished high school, but then he didn't complete the Juilliard School. While he found it a great place to be, to learn the technicalities and all the technical musical information that served him, and techniques that served him for the rest of his life. He did find that it was very much white and European based with regard to the music, and that just didn't sit well with him. He did travel to Paris early in his career, in the early 50s, I believe. And in Paris, he was treated as a wonderful musician, as a prodigy, as a just a brilliant musician. And when he came back to America, it was still the 50s, and he wasn't treated so well. There were a number of things that he left behind, basically, in Paris, and they said that led to the Depression. But it was also that he, from a documentary we saw at least, it was also that he wasn't treated as he was in Paris and in all of Europe, as somebody to be respected, somebody to be honored, and somebody with a talent that really transcended so many other musicians at the time, that he really should have been taken more seriously in the United States. But it was the Jim Crow South. And so if he traveled to the South, that's what he experienced, was the Jim Crow segregation. And it was many years before that changed for musicians. So so it was a difficult time, but he did create quite a few albums during that period, and then got into, had some issues with drugs and alcohol, and was a little more sporadic after that time. But, just having created at least 57 major works is still quite an accomplishment. And he was busy all the time. Music was his life. There was a short period where he was out of music for a while, but then he got back to it. And in 1991, just before he passed away in September, he was at the Newport Jazz Festival at the request of Quincy Jones, and they did an entire retrospective, and he played some things that he hadn't played in 20 years. So looking at his chart, he's got, besides those two channels there, he's also got the channel of logic, and he's got the 2343, which is the channel of brilliance, genius, freak to genius. I think his genius came out at exactly the right time. And then he's got the 4253, which is the gate of, or the channel of cycles, where he kind of went through cycles in his life. Usually there are 5, 7, or 9 year cycles for people. And you can kind of see that he went through cycles in his life where, things would change up after a while. He had different bands, different albums, different ways of playing, but always a distinctive style. He also is a 5-1, so people were always projecting upon him. The 5-1, the 5 is a projection field. It's very much about having a few close friends, and then the 1 is all about investigation, right? Doing new things, trying new things, and creating new things. So that's how those kind of played out. And let's see what else. And he's got the 42 again, completions in his Chiron, and 3 which is all about trouble at the beginning. He was sensitive. He had the 39, which is about provocation. He was a little bit provocative sometimes with the bands, with the band members, and especially when he was under the tutelage of the early band leaders, where he was learning from them. There was friction at different times. We had the 7, which is about democratic leadership. So he was able to be the leader. The 62 was all about details. So that served him well. The 61 is the thinker. He's always asking why are things like this? And he had that 63-4, actually the channel of logic, both conscious and unconscious. Over here, we've got that ambition in the 54. 38 is the gate of the fighter. It's kind of knowing what's worth fighting for. And then over here, you've got the gate 30, which I'm not surprised to see at all. It's intensity, right? Intensity in his chart, which amps up everything else in the chart. So as a manifesting generator, he got a lot done. He saw a lot. He, knew a lot of people, did a lot of stuff, and created some of the best jazz that the world has ever known. So for you this week, you will probably have a lot of energy, more energy than usual. You will have the energy to the throat, so beware of that you might be saying things that you wouldn't normally say. And you'll have that sacral energy if you don't usually have the sacral energy. And then later in the week, you'll have the root energy, which will be hopefully grounding. So have a great week, and I will see you next time. Be well.